welcome back to Food Prep Guide. Today I want to share with you 7 seeds that you can plant right now in August for your fall garden. Now before we get started, I want to point out the fact that we all live in different zones. So what I can plant in August is going to be different than what you can plant in August, like say if you live up north or even on a different continent. So I want to share a tip for how you can tell whether or not something is able to be planted now in August. So on the back of your seed packet, you're going to see a days to harvest data, a days to harvest number, and that's going to tell you how long it's going to take until you can pull that plant out of the ground. And what you need to do is look at for your your first frost date for your area, and if your days to maturity or days to harvest is lower than how many days you have left for your first frost, then you are good to still plant that crop in August. Okay, let's get started. I chose the 7 seeds that are able to be planted in August for the largest variety of zones. So I was trying to cover as many of you as possible. So number 1 is Brussels sprouts. It is time to get those in the ground, typically in August. These are going to be maturing in early winter, and they can handle a little bit of frost, so it's totally fine to plant them even when it's not going to mature before first frost. In fact, a little bit of frost makes Brussels sprouts sweeter. If you have never preserved Brussels sprouts long term, I highly suggest shredding them, blanching them, and then throwing them on your dehydrator trays and dehydrating at 125 degrees overnight. And what you can do is they rehydrate beautifully. You're going to soak them in water, strain the water off, and then put them in a skillet with some butter and sliced onions, and you will not even be able to tell that they weren't fresh. Okay, number 2. Celery. It is time to get those celery plants in the ground. We absolutely love celery. Celery is a staple crop for soups and stews and so many other things, especially for our cream of celery dry mix that we make. But I want to just discuss this for a minute. There are some plants that are just plain tricky, and I know that that can change from one gardener to another. One might be a master gardener at tomatoes but really struggle with sweet potatoes, or fill in the blank. So celery is one of those tricky crops for me personally that is hard to get a really large harvest out of. The stalks always are just so puny, and they turn out bitter a lot of times. If you figure out that if you test and play around with celery and figure out that it's tricky for you to grow too, I want to highly recommend you to try lovage. Lovage is an herb that tastes exactly like celery. And if you dehydrate it or freeze dry it or even freeze it, it can be a one-to-one replacement for celery in all of your soups and stews. And since it's an herb, it grows a lot easier than something like celery. So there's that to consider. Number 3, carrots. If you're a gardener, you probably have already done a round of carrots. I know I did in early spring. Well, fall is coming and it's time to get them in the ground to go ahead and get a second plant or even third planting of carrots in. If it is still very, very hot where you live, as it is here, it is just like 90 degrees today, your carrots probably need to go under some shade to get just a couple of degrees lower in order to sow and germinate well. Number 4 is cabbage. It's time to go ahead and get a second round of cabbage. If you plant it in the spring, you can get another crop in the fall. This is something that I plant twice every single year along with my carrots. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I plant twice, and I don't think there is. I think carrots and cabbage are the 2 crops that I make sure to plant twice a year and get a double harvest in. And that's because it is just so multi-purpose in my pantry. We dehydrate it. We have a whole video on preserving cabbage without canning, and we'll link that above. Number 5 is peas. Now I have sweet telephone, which is like a pole variety of peas here, but this is anything in the pea family. Anything in the pea family is going to grow fantastic this time of year. So if you haven't already planted your peas, go ahead and get some in the ground. Number 6 is lettuce. Now these are going to be all of your lettuce greens. It is time to go ahead and get that salad garden rolling again. I am very excited to plant my green stalk once more and make it my salad garden. I have missed it over the last month, and it is time to go ahead and start getting that second round of all of my spinaches and salad garden greens, my romaine lettuces. All of that is going in my green stalk this weekend. Last but not least, number 7 is radishes. Radishes are a 2-for-1 crop because you can actually plant these in your salad garden and eat the greens in your salads and then roast the radishes for a side dish. They are a great way to get the most bang for your buck, and one of the awesome things about radishes is they grow very quickly. You can actually usually get 2 plantings in the fall of radishes, depending on your zone. If you're like in zone 6 or higher, maybe zone 7 or higher, you might even be able to get 3 rounds of plantings in before your first frost date, and radishes can actually handle a little bit of frost, makes them a tad bit sweeter, just like those carrots. So radishes are a fantastic crop to get in the ground in August, and you could probably get another round in September as well. Okay, y'all, I hope that helps y'all get your fall garden started. I know I'm excited to get mine started. We will see you next time. Bye.